All right. It was good to be back out there today and start preparing for another quality opponent. The best thing to help you put a game like that behind you this past week is going out, getting back in the grind, and get back to work. So that's exactly what we've done. It's been a tough loss, but we have to learn from it, make sure we correct our mistakes, make sure we move on preparing the right way to win football games. We can't allow this disappointment to keep our to seep into our preparation this week. We got to make sure that we learn from it, and everybody has to look in the mirrors and make sure we do self-evaluation, making sure we're doing everything possible to make sure we're preparing the proper way. Our team goals are still all out in front of us. Undefeated at home is one of our goals as a team. Making sure that we win our bowl game is one of our missions. All of that's still right there in front of us. So we got to, again, learn from this past loss, our mistakes in this previous game, and moving forward, we need to do a better job of understanding what's going to allow us to accomplish the mission together. Just giving up on your goals because of one loss is like slashing your other 3 tires off one flat. So we got to move forward. That'll open it up.
Look, with the tough game, obviously, how has it been used to refocus the team, if at all?
It hadn't been a challenge to refocus them. I mean, you get back and get focused quick, especially after a game like that. There's only one thing to do. No one feels good about it. Coaches, players, we all got to do our job. The focus is there right now. Again, it was great to get back out there today. That's what we need to do. So we'll get them there.
Old Dominion got the running back Ray Lowry back, and in his first game against West Kentucky, he had a huge game. What have you seen from him, and what do y'all need to change as far as the run defense goes to really change for that?
First thing we need to do is make sure that we have a lot of energy and we have a lot of focus. We've done some really good things with our run defense. This past weekend wasn't a reflection upon that. So we got to make sure guys are fitting their gaps the correct way. Everybody's doing their job. Again, it should be gapped out, right? And we got to make sure guys are in the right spots.
The run game has been successful all season despite the SMU game and last week's game. What have you seen from that? How important is it that y'all stick with that even when it gets rough during games?
Well, yeah, it's extremely important. I mean, you want to have good balance. When we get our run game going, I think everything else opens up. But there's times to where, you get so far that you got to make decisions on how you're going to catch back up and how you're going to figure out a way to win the football game. So we've talked a little bit about that. We evaluate that as a staff and make sure that we grow from that as well.
The defensive line, as we've talked about, has been much improved. They're one of the deepest positions. How have they been able to be so effective without Bryce and with Tillman Johnson just now coming back?
I think, first off, it's the leadership of that group. I think Coach Yellock does a great job with that group. He's really been developing and continuing to get better every week. And that's been one of our, you look at that group, it's been one of our groups that's had probably the most leadership in that one area. So, and then plus competition. Competition always makes everybody better. So we got to get back to making sure that we dominate the line of scrimmage. That's when we have success on both sides of the ball, not just defense. But when we win up front on both sides of the ball, we have success. When we don't, we don't.
Talk a little bit about Old Dominion, as a part of what they've got. I know they've got a 17-year-old quarterback, and like we mentioned, your Lowry's back this week. What do you see in those guys?
Well, I think that, same thing. They want to establish a run. They do a great job in their scheme of, getting the matchups they want, making sure that they're in clean plays. They do a lot of run-pass options. Coach Wilder does a great job. He's a great coach. They're very sound offensively. And, they got a young quarterback, which he's really growing into his own. You can see every single week he's getting more confident and starting to come around and grasp. It's a lot like Mason was early in this past year. You know, it takes time for those guys to get that confidence, but they do a great job with their quarterbacks. They always have. Defensively, they're very sound. Their strengths up front, and those front four, they make it all happen. Got some really good players, and you know, they're not gonna. It's not something that they're gonna give you so much multiple looks or confuse you. They line up and they're very sound in what they do, and they attack. So we're gonna have to make sure we're great with our fundamentals, and the most important is we got to make sure we're great at doing our job, making sure we understand what we're trying to get accomplished, and again, offense, defense comes down to your assignment.
You suffered your first conference loss of the season. Do you believe that FAU gave other schools in Conference USA a game plan on how to beat North Texas?
We'll see. You know, if I was another team, I'd definitely be watching that game.
Is Guyton going to be okay this week, Jalen?
Yes.
We are. Is everybody else fairly healthy? You guys pretty good going into this game?
Yeah.
When you guys came into the season this year, you took such a dramatic jump defensively last year, considering you had a brand new system, brand new coordinators. You know, the expectation seemed like it'd be that you guys would continue to make that progress, especially in the second year of the system. It's been good at times. It's been a struggle at others. And you mentioned after the game you need to kind of look at the film to evaluate where you're at. Now that you've had a chance to look at the film after that game, where do you think you are defensively? You know, just going forward.
Inconsistent. We gotta learn to attack every day and every play, making sure we play aggressive. And, I don't think we did.
Did you have the impression coming into the season and feel like you had the people, the players, to really make another step forward defensively?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think it's been inconsistent, and some of that's for. There's a lot of reasons that can play into that. First and foremost, it starts with me. It starts with me as a coach, making sure that we're doing the right things, and then it goes down to our assistant coaches, making sure that we put our guys in the best situations. When we do that, the players have to take ownership and doing their job and playing at a high level, playing full speed. So, you know, we got to continue to grow. We got to get better. There's no doubt about that. Just keep growing. You know, I think there's a fine line between. I've been a part of teams that have no confidence and building their confidence up, and then there's a fine line between being confident and cocky. You start getting cocky, the bad things are fixing to happen, and it never fails. And so, we got to get back to understanding who we are. You know, the way we work, the way we prepare. We've got to have that energy. We got to play hard every single snap in order to beat people. And so we got to get back to doing those things.
Is there anything just beyond consistency you think that's giving you guys problems defensively?
I just said it. There's a fine line between being cocky and confident. And you got to make sure that when you're put in the right spots, you got to attack. And again, we got to self-evaluate and make sure we're putting these guys in the right situations. So it comes down to all of us. Everybody has to make sure that we're doing what we're coached to do as coaches and players.
You have a little bit of a different dynamic there with, you know, you had the two defensive coordinators last year. You've gone strictly to ref it this year. And one of the things that he mentioned early in the season was that you guys wanted to play a lot more man coverage this year, maybe be a little bit more aggressive. Has that philosophical switch paid off the way that you hoped it would?
Coach Reffitt's my DC. He makes the calls. I have a lot of faith in him. I know who he is. I know how he coaches. So there you have it.
You think these guys still have a lot of confidence after last week, or do you try to rebuild it through the practice this week?
Yeah, I think think maybe we had a little bit too much confidence there, Brett, this past week. I think it paid off too well for us. So this will bring you back down to earth. And that gets back to, again, doing what we do well, and that's going out and being blue collar and working hard and making sure that we're completely locked in and focused in through Saturday.
There were a couple of guys that were, preseason all-conference. The expectations were pretty high for Nate Brooks, Keyshawn McClain, some of the other guys in your defense throughout all levels. Have you seen those guys live up to what you hoped they would be this year?
I don't look at all that. I really don't. I could care less on who has what. Some of that's just your play speaks for itself, and at the end of the year, I think a lot of those things are team driven. Great players, step up and great teams, and usually when you have success as a football team, those awards and accolades come. So I think you got to go out and play. You can't worry about all that crap.
TJ Chihuahua, has he contributed a little bit to your guys' success this year? And you have been successful in some of those games. Has he helped you guys this year?
Yeah, I think up front that's been our biggest strength. I think TJ's a big reason for that. He's a big guy. He's strong, and he's great at using his hands. He has good techniques. So he's been solid. Again, we got to get back to that. We got to get back to our fundamentals and making sure our fits are correct. And those linebackers, we got to keep guys off of those guys and let them roam and make plays and hit their gaps.
What was the mood like out there today? Did the game, like what happened at Florida Atlantic, kind of light a fire?
Better. Practice was great. Here's the thing, we had great practices last week. We had a great Tuesday, we had a great Wednesday. So it's more than just, you better be locked in and focused in practice. But then, once you kind of get through the week, through your preparation, making sure that focus, that energy continues to stay through to the game. And so, but again, the mood's, obviously it's not happy-go-lucky. It was focused in, trying to get a day better, and that's what we have to do. We got to go back and just taking it one day at a time and making sure that we're doing everything necessary we can to help our team win a football game.
That's it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks,